Hey everyone, it's Pamela from Memphis FoodTrotter.blogspot.com, and we're here with another episode of Pamela Fear Not, where I try new recipes or try and conquer my cooking fears. And today we're going to do a new recipe that IKEA released. It's their Swedish meatballs. So if you are interested in see how I do them or attempt to do them, then please keep watching.
Okay, so first what I had to do was convert everything from the IKEA measurements to US measurements. So I did a pound of ground beef. Mine happened to be 85%, and half a pound of ground pork. And it said to use your hands to mix. So throughout the whole mixing process, I used my hands. Add in 1 medium onion. I tried to chop it as best as I could. And I minced 3 cloves of garlic, even though the recipe just called for 1. Now add in half a cup of breadcrumbs. I'm using panko, and 1 egg. This is the messy parts because of the egg. So definitely make sure you wash your hands throughout this whole process to stay clean, and just mix until everything is nicely incorporated. To finish up our meatball mixture, we're going to add in 5 tablespoons of milk. And this is also where we're going to do our seasoning. I'm just putting in a generous amount of Himalayan pink salt and white pepper. Of course, if you have cracked black pepper, go ahead and feel free to do that. And again, seasoning gets lost in ground meat, so make sure you go a little bit heavier than you think that you need to. And then mix everything through. So I lined a plate with parchment paper, and that's where I'm going to put my little meatballs. So I'm just rolling little bite-sized meatballs and just putting them onto my parchment paper. And basically, I was able to make about 36 of these. And make sure you preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And if you didn't finally chop your onion, like I did, because I did it, then go ahead when you're rolling to pick those big pieces of onions out so they don't get burned when you're frying them. So this is where I kind of veered away from the recipe. The IKEA recipe called for putting the meatballs into the refrigerator for 2 hours. I was impatient. I believe the refrigeration is to help keep the round shape, and so I did not. And therefore, when I'm frying my meatballs, you'll see that they're, of course, taking the shape of the pan, so they're kind of more lopsided or square-ish or flat on some edges. But heat up a large pan and drizzle some olive oil, and then you can carefully place your meatballs there. I did about 3 batches of this for me to finish all of 36 of my meatballs. And then you're just basically going to brown all of the sides. So keep turning them until they're all brown. And then we're going to throw them in the oven to finish cooking. Okay, while our meatballs are baking in the oven for 30 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, we're going to make our sauce. I'm going to use the same pan as the one that I used to fry off the meatballs because it has that nice flavor in it already. I'm just going to wipe out some of the black burnt bits, and I'm going to put in 3 tablespoons of olive oil. The original recipe does call for butter though. We're going to add in 3 tablespoons of flour, and this is a roux, so basically you want this nice and foamy and bubbly. And this is our thickening agent for our sauce. Other sauce recipes might ask you to do like a cornstarch slurry, which is cornstarch mixed in water first, and then you add it at the end to thicken. But this recipe calls for this thickening to happen in the beginning. And then after this is nice and bubbly, we're going to add in 1.25 cups of fake beef stock. The original recipe does ask for half of that to be vegetable stock and half of that to be beef stock. I didn't have any stock, so I just dissolved a cube of beef bouillon in warm water. And so that was my liquid. And then it also asked for 2/3 of a cup of heavy cream. I didn't have that either. So what I did have though was sour cream. So I added a little bit of milk to the sour cream, and I just mixed it till it was a little bit loose or looser, and then I put that in. And then we're gonna add in a little bit of
ground mustard because I didn't have Dijon mustard, which is again what the recipe calls. So I did, again, do a few little changes based on the ingredients that I had on hand. Now pour in 2 teaspoons of soy sauce. And lastly, I'm supposed to add in a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, but I did not have that, so I just sprinkled in about a teaspoon or so of ground mustard that I had. And we're gonna mix this until this is thick, to where if you put on the back of the wooden spoon and you pull your finger down, it will leave a little space or gap. So that's when you know it's thick enough. And you can turn the stove off, and the meatballs should also more or less be coming to an end or almost being done by now. So here we have our attempt at the IKEA Swedish meatballs with their cream sauce. Again, I of course modified a few little things in the sauce just because of the ingredients that I had, but hopefully it will still taste good. We're gonna give it a little go. Oh, that went right through. The meatball is super tender. I think it's the ratio of maybe the milk and the panko. It's not overcooked at all. And there's a little bit of kick. Maybe it's the white pepper I put in or the little bit of mustard in the sauce. The sauce is so creamy and just adds a really good flavor to the meatballs. But the meatballs are good on their own. I tasted one when it came straight out of the oven. I love all the really nice soft onions. This is really good. It's really, really good. I haven't had an IKEA meatball in a while, so I would have to have them side by side to see how similar they are. But even though I modified the recipe, it still tastes good. So I'm sure if you had all of the original recipe ingredients, I'm sure it would just be super duper awesome. But it still tastes really good to me. It's probably the best meatball recipe I've ever tried before. So give this recipe a try, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Please check the little arrow for different links, including the IKEA recipe link in there, and I'll put in my modifications or type them in there for you guys, and I will see you guys later. Bye guys, stay safe.